In 1967, an archaeologist brushed away a layer of ash and froze. Before him stood an entire city. Streets, houses, dishes on tables, food in clay jars, everything untouched for 3,600 years. But the people were gone. Not a single body, not one skeleton. 30,000 people had simply vanished. They left in a single night and never returned. To this day, nobody knows where they went. The Greek island of Santorini is one of the most beautiful places on Earth. White houses, blue sea, cliffs above the water. But beneath that beauty lies a terrifying secret. Thousands of years ago, a great civilization lived here, the Minoans.
Their civilization was the most advanced in the world at that time. They had multi-story houses with hot water and traded across the entire Mediterranean. They built Akrotiri, a city 1,000 years ahead of its time. Imagine a city built 1,000 years before Rome. Every house had a sewage system. Hot and cold water flowed through pipes. The streets were paved with stone. The houses rose 3 stories high. All of this 1,500 years before Christ. The walls were covered with vivid frescoes of animals and people. The colors had barely faded in 3,000 years. That is almost impossible. Inside the houses, archaeologists found scales, amphorae, and grain grinders. Everything remained exactly where it had been, as if the residents had simply stepped outside and never returned.
His name was Spiridon Marinatos, a Greek archaeologist who devoted his life to a single dream. He believed that an ancient city was sleeping beneath Santorini. His colleagues laughed at him. They said it was fantasy. But in 1967, he picked up a shovel and began to dig. Within the first days, the walls of houses emerged from the ground, then streets, then rooms filled with furniture. Marinatos had found what he had been searching for his entire life. He died at the excavation site in 1974, and he was buried there as well, among the city he revealed to the world. Imagine walking into a house that is 3,600 years old. On the table, stone bowls and traces of food. It looks as if the owner stepped outside only moments ago. The walls are covered with vivid frescoes whose colors still have not faded. One room is decorated with leaping antelopes. In another, boys are boxing. In a third room, a massive seascape shows a fleet of ships. Everything looked as though the owners had left for a minute and never came back. The frescoes of Akrotiri are true masterpieces. Painted 3,600 years ago, they still look surprisingly modern. Scientists still cannot fully explain how. A woman in a saffron dress gathers crocus flowers. A boy holds a fish. The faces look vivid and real. A fleet of ships sails between 2 cities, the first maritime map in history. Scientists continue to study it and discover new details. Around 1600 BC, the volcano beneath the island awakened. It was one of the most powerful eruptions of the last 10,000 years. The explosion was heard thousands of kilometers away, and ash rose 40 kilometers into the sky. A tsunami as tall as a 9-story building struck nearby islands. Entire coastlines disappeared beneath the sea within hours. Akrotiri was buried beneath layers of ash and stone. The city vanished from the earth for 3,500 years. You've probably heard of Pompeii, the Roman city destroyed by Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Thousands of bodies were discovered there. Akrotiri was destroyed in the same way, buried beneath volcanic ash. But no bodies were ever found here. Akrotiri is 1,500 years older than Pompeii, and the mystery of its destruction runs far deeper. This still troubles scientists today. In Pompeii, people had no time to escape. In Akrotiri, there were no victims at all. The residents clearly knew something was coming. They had time to leave, but took very little with them. Valuables, jewelry, tools, everything remained inside the houses. 30,000 people left and vanished into history.
Scientists discovered an important clue. A powerful earthquake struck the city weeks before the eruption. Many houses were partially destroyed, but the residents had begun rebuilding them. People were still living in the city after the first tremors. Something forced them to leave later. Perhaps new earthquakes served as a warning, or the priests signaled evacuation. We do not know. The Minoans were great seafarers. They possessed a vast trading fleet. It is possible they escaped by sea before the eruption. They could have reached Crete, Egypt, or Asia Minor. But why did they take so little? Valuables and jewelry were left behind in the houses. That is not how people leave forever. They clearly believed they would return, but they never did.
There is an even darker theory. Minoan texts mention dark rituals. It is possible some residents were sacrificed to the gods of fire and sea to save the others. Such practices were not uncommon in those times. Scientists do not completely dismiss this theory. Even now, there is still no clear answer. You have probably heard of Atlantis, a great island said to have vanished beneath the sea in a single night. A wealthy maritime civilization with an advanced culture. The Greek philosopher Plato described it in 360 BC. He wrote about an island with hot springs swallowed by catastrophe in a single day. Plato lived 1,200 years after the destruction of Akrotiri, but the similarities are too precise to be a coincidence. An island shaped like a ring, just as Plato described. Hot springs, just as Plato described. A seafaring people, just as Plato described. Many scientists believe Atlantis was Santorini. Official science remains cautious, but the facts speak for themselves. After the eruption, Minoan culture began to decline. Within 150 years, the great civilization was gone. An entire world disappeared, and almost nobody noticed. History did not leave them even an obituary, only ruins, and a mystery we are still trying to solve today. The destruction of Santorini did not go unnoticed. Egyptian texts from that time mention darkness, several days without sunlight. Ash from Santorini reached Egypt. Some historians believe this is what the Bible describes as the darkness over Egypt, one of the plagues. The climate changed for several years. Harvests failed across the Mediterranean. A single eruption changed the history of an entire world. So the people left. Where could they have gone? New settlements appeared on Crete. Minoan artifacts from the same period were found in Egypt. Traces of Minoan culture were discovered on the coast of Turkey. They settled somewhere. Perhaps the survivors blended into other nations, bringing their knowledge and art. Maybe their blood flows in your veins. Excavations in Akrotiri continue. Archaeologists have uncovered less than a third of the city. 2/3 are still underground. In 2022, untouched rooms were found. In 2023, frescoes depicting unknown rituals were discovered. Every season brings discoveries. Scientists are in no hurry. They are afraid of destroying what has been preserved. The greatest secrets of Akrotiri are still underground. The sewage system in Akrotiri worked better than in medieval Europe. The walls of the houses were built in 3 layers to protect against earthquakes. We reinvented this only in the 20th century. The frescoes were made using a special technique. Paint was applied to wet plaster. That is why they have not faded over thousands of years. The Minoans knew something we have forgotten. You might ask, why is this not taught in schools? Because Akrotiri shatters the conventional picture of history. The official version claims that civilization developed slowly.
but Akrotiri proves otherwise. 3,600 years ago, people lived in a level of comfort that we consider modern. Akrotiri is a blank spot in our history, an inconvenient fact that does not fit into textbooks. That is why it is kept.
Imagine a different scenario. The volcano does not wake up. The Minoan civilization continues to develop. In 500 years, they could have discovered America. In 1,000, invented the steam engine. In 2,000, traveled into space. A catastrophe set humanity back by centuries. We do not know how much we lost. History could have taken a different path. Akrotiri is not just a beautiful story. It is a mirror for us. The advanced civilization of its time vanished in hours. Not from war, not from disease, from nature. History gives no guarantees, not even to the smartest, not even to the strongest, not even to the most advanced. The city under the ashes has been keeping its secrets for 3,600 years. 2/3 of it are still unexcavated. Perhaps the answers to all our questions lie there. Let me know in the comments, do you believe that Akrotiri is the real Atlantis? Or is it just a beautiful coincidence? I would love to hear your thoughts. If this video grabbed your attention, hit the like button right now. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. The story there will be just as mysterious. See you next week.